Thanks for joining us here on Money and Main Street. And today we're welcoming business leader and CEO consultant William Lieberman to our CEO Sit-Down. With his company, the CEO's Right Hand, William is able to provide strategic and financial consulting services as a trusted advisor to the founder, or CEO, or board of directors. So thanks for being with us here on Money and Main Street, William.
Thank you, Krista.
So today we're talking about analyzing your company's performance, and this is good for our viewers. You know, most businesses are run off a gut feeling by the CEO or their instinct. So how do you actually evaluate if your business is performing well or not?
You need to look at a variety of factors, right? So there's financial metrics, operational metrics, sales metrics, things like that. So as you look across the different aspects of your business, you need to start diving in. Somebody told me a long time ago, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So it's very important to really understand the numbers behind things so that you can then make strategic decisions as to how to fix them.
And the best way to measure revenue growth?
Revenue growth, if you look year over year, annual growth for the past 3 to 5 years, depends on how long you've been in business, but typically if you can go back 5 years, you want to have steady revenue growth, 20, 30, 40 or more % per year.
And in terms of analyzing performance, there's always cash considerations. You need to understand all the sources and uses of your cash, correct?
Absolutely. So you need to understand how much cash your business is throwing off and whether or not you have to bring extra cash to the business in order to continue to have it grow.
Now, what specifically should you look at when analyzing operations of your company?
Well, of course, it's going to depend upon the type of company.
Okay. Well, give us an example of, let's say, an industry.
Absolutely. So let's say you're in the software business.
Okay.
And you have customers that call in and have problems or questions. So you can measure the number of calls that you get. You can measure how long it takes to turn around an answer. How many tickets are you getting per month, per year, et cetera. And therefore, you can tell as you grow, do I have the right scale in the business so that I can really make sure that I have the right type of people that I need. And
across the board, really, it would apply to all businesses. Revenue per employee, that you should look at, or inventory turnover.
Exactly. If you make something, how many times are you turning that inventory? So you don't want to be sitting on a bunch of product in your actual warehouse. You want to be moving it, because if it's sitting there, it's using cash.
And receivable and payable days. Speak to that.
So receivable days, how long are your invoices out there before you're collecting on that money? You don't want to be more than 30 days if you can. So if you see something stretching, a certain customer stretching 60, 90 days, you call them, you say, hey, what's going on? And let me work with you on getting that money. Payable side, how long are you taking to pay your vendors? Again, if you're stretching that out, if your bookkeeper or your payables clerk is stretching that out too long, your vendors are going to come back at you and not be very happy.
Yeah, when it comes to, let's say, sales and servicing your customers properly, what are some of the key areas that are tied to effective company performance?
Well, when you look at your sales, you want to look at your pipeline, right? How much am I generating in terms of leads? How am I doing in converting those leads to actual sales? So there's metrics in terms of close rates and conversion rates, and if you sell online, lifetime value of a customer, churn rates, average order value. There's a lot of metrics that you can use to measure how well your business is doing.
So that was just going to be my next question. Your online presence just cannot be discounted at this stage of the digital game. And even if you're not selling online, what are the best ways to evaluate?
So, you know, if you're a bricks and mortar business, there are going to be lots of ways of measuring how well you're doing in terms of sales, month by month, season by season. Lots of those companies are seasonal. So you want to look at, if you're measuring this season versus a year ago season, you don't want to just do this month versus last month, because you might want to do year over year instead.
Okay. Let's talk about the value of understanding employee satisfaction.
You know,
and retention.
Absolutely. You know, satisfaction goes to retention, and you don't want to, just like you don't want to churn through your customers or have your customers leave, you don't want your employees to leave. That's your #1 asset. So you want to make sure that you keep them as happy as possible, but how do you know it unless you ask? So you have to survey your employees somehow, either formally or informally, and make sure that they're happy all the time.
You know, many companies operate in industries that go through cycles like housing or finance, so you should be looking at your piece of the pie.
Right. Right. So if you're in an industry that's very cyclical in nature, there are going to be downturns. And so when you compare yourself, you say, oh, I'm not doing very well. Well, how are you doing versus your competitors? If they're doing, you know, they're not doing well, but you're doing a little bit better than they are, even though you're down, that's still an improvement.
Okay, and any comparison tools that you can recommend in terms of your place in the industry?
Well, you know, there's benchmarking tools out there for sure. There's an article on Forbes that came out a few years back, benchmarking, that you can go and see for 25 different industries, how am I doing and what measures should I be using for this industry?
A great way to evaluate where you're standing.
Exactly.
All right, William Lieberman of the CEO's Right Hand. Always a pleasure to have you on Money and Main Street.
Thank you.
And we have more for you right after this. We're answering your business-related questions. Stay with us.